We finally got Big Red up and running for the first time this year.
Gold Rush wasn't just about striking it rich. It was about human grit, risk, and survival in one of the harshest industries on Earth. And right in the middle of it all was Parker Schnabel, a teenager turned millionaire miner who defied every expectation. At just 16 years old, Parker stepped into the spotlight, carrying the weight of his legendary grandfather John Schnabel's reputation while the world watched closely. Viewers were hooked on his story, the fearless kid who dared to run with the big dogs. But as his fame grew, so did the warnings. Friends, family, and fellow miners cautioned Parker about the dangers of his relentless drive. They said he was moving too fast, too recklessly, sacrificing his youth, his relationships, and even his safety in the quest for more gold. Many insiders claimed it was only a matter of time before his empire crumbled. Yet Parker pressed on, ignoring every red flag. What started as skepticism soon grew into full-blown alarm. People warned him about burnout, betrayal, lawsuits, and the heavy burden of fame. Still, he dug deeper, both literally and figuratively. And now, years later, we're left to ask, were those warnings justified? What really happened behind the scenes with Parker Schnabel, the young miner who refused to listen? As we dive into his journey, you'll see the victories, the heartbreaks, and the shocking truths that fans never saw coming. Because when they warned us about Parker Schnabel, maybe, just maybe, we should have listened. Parker Schnabel's story didn't start in front of Discovery Channel's cameras. It started in the shadow of a giant. His grandfather, John Schnabel, wasn't just a miner. He was a legend in Haines, Alaska. John had built his big nugget mine into both a business and a symbol of perseverance. Locals revered him, and within his family, he was a guiding light. Parker grew up spending summers with his grandfather, learning the craft of gold mining while also absorbing the values of hard work, discipline, and community. From an early age, it was clear Parker wasn't like most kids his age. While others spent their teenage years hanging out with friends, Parker was running equipment, hauling gravel, and memorizing the complex processes of mining. By the time he was 16, Parker had already earned the respect of older men who had been mining for decades. But when Gold Rush came knocking, the weight of that respect became heavier than he could have imagined. The show wasn't just documenting his journey. It was framing him as the heir apparent to a dynasty. Producers loved the story, the teenage prodigy stepping into his grandfather's boots. Fans immediately connected to Parker's grit, his stubbornness, and the raw emotion he often showed when things went wrong. But with that spotlight came whispers. Was he too young, too inexperienced to handle the pressure? The first warning signs appeared almost immediately. Running a mining operation isn't just about moving dirt. It's about managing men, machines, and millions of dollars. Parker's crew was often twice his age, and many doubted his ability to lead. Critics inside and outside the show said that no teenager could survive the stress of negotiating contracts, paying workers, and keeping equipment operational in the brutal Alaskan wilderness. Even his own family worried he was setting himself up for failure. Yet Parker had something most didn't: a burning drive to prove everyone wrong. What many fans didn't see was the personal cost of this determination. Parker spent countless nights studying maps, calculating fuel costs, and obsessing over gold yields while his friends back in school lived normal teenage lives. There were no football games, no prom nights, no easy weekends. His life was a constant cycle of risk and responsibility. Viewers applauded his maturity, but those close to him wondered how long he could keep it up before something snapped. John Schnabel, the man who knew Parker best, also voiced concern. He admired Parker's determination, but warned him not to lose sight of the bigger picture, that mining could consume a man if he wasn't careful. "Gold will take everything if you let it," John once said, and Parker heard those words more than once. But with every ounce pulled from the ground, Parker felt validation, as if success was the only way to honor his grandfather's legacy. By the end of his first seasons on Gold Rush, Parker had already built a reputation as one of the youngest and most ambitious miners in the industry. Yet beneath the triumphs, there was a growing tension. The warnings were multiplying, whispers that he was heading for burnout, that his relentless pursuit of gold would come at a price he wasn't ready to pay. And while the cameras captured the victories, The real story was just beginning. Parker Schnabel was being shaped not only by the land he mined, but by the weight of expectations that could either make or break him. As Parker Schnabel's mining career accelerated, so did his fame. What started as a reality TV experiment quickly turned into an empire. By his early 20s, Parker wasn't just another face on Gold Rush, he was the face of it. Viewers tuned in specifically to watch the young miner who was proving the world wrong week after week. But behind the scenes, his skyrocketing success came with a price tag that few could see, and those closest to him continued to warn him of the dangers ahead. Fame brought Parker wealth, but it also brought pressure. Running multi-million-dollar operations in the unforgiving Yukon is brutal enough. Add the constant presence of cameras, producers, and the expectations of millions of fans, and it became almost unbearable. Every decision Parker made wasn't just about mining anymore. It was about ratings, about proving himself, and about living up to his grandfather's legacy. Many industry veterans cautioned him that this kind of lifestyle could break even the toughest men. But Parker, stubborn as ever, pushed harder. Financially, Parker was soaring. He pulled in millions in gold and reportedly earned around $25,000 per episode from the show. But money couldn't buy him peace. Friends noticed that Parker rarely allowed himself time to relax. He admitted on camera that he had trouble connecting with people his age because his entire life revolved around the mine. Social gatherings, relationships, even hobbies, all were secondary to the pursuit of gold. This relentless drive became one of the most repeated warnings from his crew. Slow down, or you'll burn out. And relationships? That was another casualty. Parker's highly publicized romance with Ashley Yule ended in heartbreak, and he later admitted the breakup was his fault. He had been so consumed by mining and filming that he failed to make space for her in his life. Fans sympathized with Ashley, but also began to see what others had warned about all along. Parker's obsession with work left little room for personal happiness. Ashley's departure wasn't just about love lost. It was a glaring sign that the life Parker had chosen might cost him more than he bargained for. Even his crew felt the tension. Leading a team twice his age meant Parker was constantly under scrutiny. While some admired his intelligence and instinct, others questioned his authority. Heated arguments often broke out on camera, and off-screen insiders suggested there were even more conflicts that viewers never saw. Leadership at such a young age is no easy feat, and the warnings kept piling up. Voices telling Parker he couldn't keep pushing this hard without something eventually breaking. To make matters worse, the isolation of fame began to weigh heavily on him. In interviews, Parker admitted that people viewed him less as a person and more as a character from television. The cameras didn't turn off when the season ended. The pressure followed him everywhere. Fans approached him in public, always wanting a piece of his time, while critics on social media tore apart his every move. It was the darker side of fame, the kind that makes even the strongest people crack under pressure. Yet despite all these warning signs, strained relationships, exhaustion, crew conflicts, and the emptiness of fame, Parker stayed the course. He pushed harder, dug deeper, and refused to let anyone's doubts stop him. For many, this made him admirable. For others, it was deeply concerning. They feared he was building his empire on a foundation that couldn't hold forever. And as Parker moved into even bigger operations with more land, more money, and higher risks, those warnings only grew louder. The question hanging over him wasn't whether he could succeed. It was how much success would cost him in the long run. Success doesn't come without enemies. And for Parker Schnabel, the bigger his empire grew, the more problems followed. By his mid-20s, he was overseeing massive operations across the Yukon and even venturing into international mining. To viewers, it looked like the dream. Millions in gold, a top-rated show, and recognition as one of the youngest success stories in reality television. But behind the bright lights, cracks began to show. And once again, the warnings he had ignored seemed to creep closer to reality. One of the first cracks came in the form of betrayal. Running multi-million-dollar projects meant Parker had to rely on trusted partners, contractors, and crew members. But trust in the gold mining world is fragile. Rumors swirled of shady deals, broken promises, and disagreements over profits. While not every detail made it onto Gold Rush, whispers among insiders suggested that Parker faced more than one betrayal from people he thought he could rely on. Some crew members left the show quietly, while others departed amid speculation of heated conflicts. These exits fueled the idea that Parker's leadership, though brilliant, often left bruised relationships in its wake. Legal troubles weren't far behind either. Mining rights are a constant battlefield in the Yukon. Land disputes, environmental regulations, and lawsuits have plagued almost every miner at some point, and Parker was no exception. Though he often tried to keep these battles out of the spotlight, reports suggested that his rapid expansion and aggressive strategies sometimes brought him face to face with legal headaches. For a young man still in his 20s, carrying lawsuits and multi-million-dollar disputes was a burden most couldn't imagine. Critics pointed to these moments as proof of what they had warned. Parker was carrying too much, too fast. The toll didn't stop at business. Parker's role as the star of Gold Rush meant he carried the entire weight of the show on his shoulders. Producers leaned on him for drama, for storylines, and for ratings. While other miners came and went, Parker's story remained the backbone of the series. This constant pressure made his life less about mining and more about entertainment, blurring the lines between reality and television. Some of Parker's own crew admitted that filming could be more exhausting than the mining itself, as every mistake or argument became amplified for millions to watch. Then came the whispers of burnout. By his own admission, Parker often felt trapped between the world of mining and the expectations of the audience. He confessed in interviews that while he loved mining, there were times he hated the fame that came with it. Some warned that his mental health was at risk if he didn't slow down, pointing out that his youth was slipping away while he carried responsibilities most men didn't face until middle age. For Parker, however, quitting wasn't an option. He was determined to keep pushing, no matter the cost. Perhaps the heaviest weight of all was the throne he inherited, the unspoken duty to carry on John Schnabel's legacy. His grandfather's passing in 2016 left Parker with both inspiration and responsibility. Fans adored John, and many saw Parker as the natural successor. But living up to such a beloved figure meant Parker could never simply be himself. He was always compared, always measured against the man who had taught him everything. That comparison became both his greatest motivator and his greatest burden. By this point, it was clear the warnings weren't just idle talk. Burnout, betrayal, legal battles, and the crushing weight of fame were already shaping Parker's life. And yet he still refused to stop. The gold was calling, and Parker Schnabel wasn't the type to walk away. But as the years went on, the question wasn't just whether he would succeed, it was whether he could survive the empire he had built. After years of ignoring the warnings, Parker Schnabel now stands at a crossroads in both his life and career. By 2025, he has become more than just a TV personality. He is a seasoned miner, businessman, and global brand. He has mined millions of dollars worth of gold, traveled to far-off places for spin-off shows, and cemented himself as one of the most successful young figures in reality television. But behind the triumphs, the same question lingers. Did Parker ever listen to the warnings, or is he still on a collision course with burnout? In recent interviews, Parker has shown signs of reflection. He has admitted that mining isn't just about the gold anymore. It's about the people, the memories, and the lessons along the way. He acknowledged his mistakes, particularly in his personal life, confessing that his relentless pursuit of success cost him relationships and moments of peace. For fans, these admissions felt like a rare glimpse into the man behind the miner, someone who has finally begun to understand the cost of ignoring the voices around him. Professionally, Parker continues to push boundaries. His operations remain massive, and his dominance on Gold Rush is undisputed. Yet even as he digs deeper into the earth, he has started to invest in new projects and business ventures. Some insiders believe this is his way of diversifying, not putting all his energy into the exhausting grind of mining. Others see it as a sign that he may, at long last, be preparing for life beyond the gold fields. After all, no one can keep up that pace forever, but make no mistake, Parker is still Parker. His stubborn streak remains, and his drive to outdo himself has not faded. He continues to chase bigger paydays, riskier ventures, and more ambitious goals. Crew members still whisper about the incredible pressure he puts on himself, and fans continue to worry that his lifestyle may one day break him. It's a fine line between brilliance and burnout, between legacy and loss. And Parker has been walking that line for more than a decade. What truly defines Parker Schnabel, however, is his resilience. Despite betrayals, lawsuits, heartbreaks, and the crushing expectations of fame, he has never given up. He has built an empire from dirt, sweat, and sheer determination. And while some of the warnings proved true, costing him love, peace, and even moments of happiness, he has continued to adapt, grow, and push forward. Whether fans see this as inspiring or troubling depends on how they view success. Is Parker a cautionary tale of obsession, or is he proof that relentless drive can overcome anything? As Parker looks ahead, one thing is certain. He has already carved his name into mining history. But the story isn't finished. The warnings may still echo around him, but Parker Schnabel has always written his own story, one filled with gold, grit, and the unshakable will to keep digging no matter what.